I want to blow up whole countries, whole nations. I want to make everybody submit to one world order governance under my rule.
On June 8th of 2014, a couple that frequently dressed up as Harley Quinn and the Joker decided to go on what they called the beginning of a revolution. What these two would do was absolutely sickening, but they left behind clues hinting that they were going to strike at practically any moment. This is the case of Amanda and Jared Miller. Hello, friend, and welcome to High Time Crime. My name's Joel, and on here I specialize in true crime and also pretending to be a tree. A tree. But anyway, today we're going over a very interesting case that isn't too heavily covered. There's a lot of parts to it, and also an attempted hero, so stay tuned. Jared Dwayne Miller was born on January 3rd of 1983 in Kennewick, Washington, to his parents Carrie and Todd Miller. Not a lot is known about Jared's early life, but we do know a few things. His parents at some point in time split, and his mother went on to have 3 different children, so Jared had 3 half-siblings. I believe that he would go back and forth between his parents' homes, as one of them lived in a trailer park in Findlay, Washington. By January of 1999, Jared started attending Kennewick High School as a freshman. At this point, he was 16 years old, so it's possible that he had gotten held back or something. The next year, in 2000, Jared was 17 years old, and this would be the first time he'd get in actual trouble that we know of. This year, he was arrested in Benton County, Washington, which included Kennewick in it. His charge was for third-degree malicious mischief, and basically he tried to destroy a smoke detector because he was smoking in a bathroom and it went off. This was a misdemeanor charge, and what came from it wasn't cited. Around that same time is when Jared began hanging out with a guy named Travis Scott, which is very close to Travis Scott. But Travis said that him and Jared were close friends and often spent a lot of time at the trailer park where Jared lived. Travis described Jared as being a loose cannon and someone that was always prone to fight. He said that Jared liked fighting and that Travis would always have to drag him away, that he's always been kind of out there. The next year, though, in 2001, Jared was now 18 years old, and at this point, he was a junior at Richland High School. He started attending this school after his freshman year at Kennewick. But in February of that year, Jared, along with a friend, stole a car in Benton County, Washington. They then used that car to go commit more crimes, such as stealing beer. Jared also kicked someone's door in, and they threw newspapers and phone books into a person's yard that had threatening messages written on them. Jared was charged with felony auto theft and also a few misdemeanors. He pled guilty to the auto theft charge and served some jail time, but how long wasn't specified. I believe it was after this first arrest and felony conviction. But Jared was going to get progressively worse as time would go on. His next arrest also came sometime in 2001 when he stole a CD and gloves from a store and damaged 2 windows, one being in the holding cell. Jared was charged with 2 misdemeanors, which were theft and malicious mischief. He pled guilty and served some jail time. Not long after this, Jared, still in 2001, called someone and made threats to them. Because of this, he pled guilty to phone harassment, another misdemeanor, and he served some more jail time. Later in 2001, Jared left his home and became homeless. Not only this, but he was jobless and living on the streets. His buddy that I mentioned earlier, Travis Scott, was getting his life together, and at the time he was on leave from the military. Travis was driving a rental car when he saw Jared walking alone, and Travis became concerned, so he stopped and talked to him. Jared started crying and told Travis the situation, and so Travis invited Jared to live with him. Jared, for the next month or so, would live with Travis, and Travis said that Jared seemed lost during this period, and he suspected that he was on some sort of... Jared would then leave Travis's home. It's not specified why, but after this, the two lost contact. What would happen to Jared after that point? I'm unsure. But I do know that in 2002, he was arrested again for assaulting someone, and it's not stated why. This was a 4th-degree assault and another misdemeanor charge. Jared pled guilty to this charge, and he had to serve 2 days in jail. I'm guessing after this, he got very tired of Washington and decided to move to Indiana to try and get a fresh start. This may also be because his mother at some point moved to Indiana as well, so perhaps Jared just wanted to be closer to her. Whatever the reason is, Jared moved to the state, and specifically to Anderson, Madison County. Even after moving to Indiana though, Jared would continue his streak of trouble with the law. On July 2nd of 2003, he was arrested for a misdemeanor possession of the good green. Jared would plead guilty to this charge, and he had to pay $400 in fines and court costs. He was ordered to attend treatments, and he had to serve 78 days in Madison County Jail. The next year, on June 16th of 2007, at the age of 24, Jared was arrested by police and accused of pointing a firearm, possession of the good green, hash oil, and paraphernalia. Because of this, he was charged with criminal recklessness involving a firearm, a Class D felony, possession, and intimidation, and he went to jail, but he was bonded out. Jared, a few months later, on November 13th of 2007, received a suspended sentence with credit for time served. This was after having to serve time when his bond was revoked on October 10th. But he also had to enter a program for counseling and education. For the next 2 years, he may have stayed out of trouble, or it might just not be documented. But on March 15th of 2009, Jared was arrested for some sort of physical altercation. No specifics were mentioned, but he was charged with a misdemeanor battery, and he went to trial on September 23rd of 2009. The next day, he was found not guilty by a jury. Jared, the year after that, would continue his streak of getting in trouble. At the age of 27, on November 26th of 2010, Jared was arrested by police for possessing and dealing the good green and possession of a controlled substance. However much he had amounted to felony charges. But Jared, not long after this, was arrested again on suspicion of strangulation and battery, and who this was on isn't specified. I believe his charges for this were merged with his charges a few months before, and so on February 7th of 2011, he pled guilty and was sentenced to 2 years of probation, 1 year in a substance abuse diversion program with no jail time. He waived his Fourth Amendment rights, which allows searches without warrants, and he wasn't allowed to possess firearms or knives ever again. After this specific arrest and the charges he was given, Jared would change a lot and start to really dislike the government. We'll get more into that here soon. But not long after, Jared in early 2011 was working as a cashier at a flea market in Lafayette, Indiana. He was 28 years old at the time. This is where he somehow met a young woman named Amanda Renee Woodruff. She was 19 years old at the time and born on December 27th of 1991 in Lafayette, Indiana, to her parents Carrie and Todd Woodruff. I'm gonna mention this now, but it is a bit weird that both Amanda and Jared had the same parents' names, Todd and Carrie. But Amanda loved to write poetry, and while she was in middle school, one of her poems was selected to be published in a national publication. Amanda, from an early age, loved to play the violin, and this continued all throughout high school, where she'd play the violin at her graduation in 2010. I believe at some points Amanda made money from playing the violin after graduating at a few places. In the year 2007, Amanda started working at Hobby Lobby in Lafayette, and she would work here for a long time, eventually becoming a department manager. Amanda really loved animals, crocheting, cross-stitching, and so forth. She was her dad's roller coaster partner and her mom's shopping buddy, and overall Amanda was a very kind and honest girl. That was until she met Jared. Quickly after these two met, Amanda would move in with Jared, and he changed her mindset so fast it's actually scary. Before Amanda met Jared, she was a sweet, kind girl who wouldn't really ever hurt a fly, an animal lover of all sorts, but after meeting Jared, she changed. By August 30th of 2011, only a few months after meeting, this couple would become engaged and apply for a marriage license. Amanda's father begged her not to marry Jared, but she was convinced, and so her father said, "If you really love him that much, I'll try to put up with him. But if I ever see a mark on you from him, I'll kill him." Now, not long after Amanda and Jared met and got engaged and stuff, they would become very radicalized, and it was mainly Jared's doing. Specifically because of the fact that he hated cops and what they were doing to him. These two would talk about stuff like the New World Order, how Jared's felonies were BS, and so many other things. In fact, they both, in early 2012, began to post on Alex Jones's website, InfoWars, and I'm going to read you a very alarming post made by Jared, which Amanda responded to, and another person responded as well. But what Jared replies to that post is very telling, and kinda weird given what happens later. Before I read those posts, I'm going to read a post that Amanda made on Facebook on May 23rd of 2011. This was not long after meeting Jared, or this may have been before they met. Amanda wrote, "To the people in the world, you're lucky I can't kill you now, but remember, one day I will get you, because one day all hell will break loose, and I'll be standing in the middle of it with a shotgun in one hand and a pistol in the other." Very interesting to see this post, and when it was, because of what happens after. So perhaps Amanda was a bit twisted before meeting Jared. But regardless, about a year into their relationship, on May 28th of 2012, is when Jared made the post on InfoWars. The title of Jared's post was, "The Police, to Kill or Not to Kill." He said, "I stand at a point in my life where I am on probation for selling marijuana. I take urine screens frequently, and I am forced to take classes I do not need. Before I got arrested, I had 2 jobs and was selling to my friends and family on the side. Now I cannot find a job. My probation officer states that if I protest that, my probation will be violated. They have tried to tell my fiance, who has no criminal record, that she may not own a firearm if I live in the house. Now I face a dire problem. At any time, the police could show up to my house and enter it for any reason at all, because since I'm on probation, apparently I don't have my 4th Amendment right, and neither does my fiance. I live in Indiana, and recently a law was passed named the Right to Resist Law. As I can make out from it, if a police officer kicks in my door and is not there legally, then I may shoot him. But what is legal? A warrant signed by a judge? What if that judge, however, enforces unconstitutional laws, locks people in cages for putting a substance into their bodies? I was arrested for a crime, that is a felony, yet I hurt no one. Never laid a hand on a person or their property, was selling something on the black market that is in high demand, yet there was no victim in the crime I committed. So how can that be a felony charge? A charge that takes my 1st, 2nd, and 4th right away. How can this be? Do I really live in a free country? So I sit here today pondering. Before I go any further, however, I would like to tell you a story about a friend of mine. He got charged with a misdemeanor for having a pipe on him. He was released from jail and he was given the wrong court date. He then had an arrest warrant out for him. I was at his house late one night playing a video game with him. A knock on the door came. He opened the door and cops shoved him to the ground and came rushing in, guns drawn. Several of the police officers were wearing ski masks. 2 police officers then shoved guns in my face, fingers on the trigger as the rest swept the house. They pulled his father, who was asleep, from his bed and dragged him into the living room. I was ordered to lay face down on the floor as they searched me. Finally, after running my name, they uncuffed me and his father and took my friend to jail. Before we knew what was going on, it was over, and I felt as if I had taken a trip back in time to Germany. Now, that was my last encounter with police officers. I'm afraid they may try to do some stuff like that to my fiance and I. For the most part, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I believe in God's law. You know the ones. Don't steal, don't murder, etc. I fear that if they came, even with a warrant, that I feel they are being unlawful and infringing upon my rights. I feel that I have been violated and tread upon, that the so-called justice system has done me harm. I do not wish to kill police. I understand that most of them believe that they are doing the right thing, yet I will not go to jail because I have not committed a crime. I would rather die than be labeled as a criminal. Let them call me a terrorist. Let them call me a fanatic, some nut job. I know the truth, and so does God. I'm sure our founding fathers were labeled as such. Call me a radical. I will wear that badge with pride, because America is a radical idea, brought up upon radical thinking, that each man has constitutional rights that are God-given and cannot be taken away no matter what. I refuse to stand by and let them dictate my life. My family loves me. My neighbors love me. I do good for the community more than any cop can claim. How can a police officer have a conscience arresting people who have done nothing to harm a fellow American? How can they sleep at night? I wouldn't be able to. So as I reflect, I'm being pushed further and further into a corner. I am like a wild coyote. You corner me, I will fight to the death. I love America. I love the idea of it. I am brokenhearted, though, to see people so pacified by materialism and obsession with Hollywood stars. It is our duty as American citizens to stand against tyranny, to stand against corruption at all levels. How did this happen? That patriots like me could be resting under the boots of tyrants, and as I plead for help from my fellow Americans, they just walk on by. All the while thinking, at least it's not happening to me. Yet the sad thing is, it is happening to them. So do I kill cops and make a stand when they come to get me? I would prefer to die than sit in their jail when I have done nothing to hurt anyone. Amanda would reply to Jared on this post and say, "Jared, baby, I love you with all my heart, and I'll stand behind you no matter what. It's true that it's not fair that I can't have a gun because you live with me. I know it's not right that my rights get taken away from me because I live in the same home as you, but I would love to see them try and enforce that. My love for you is deep and forever, and what they have to say, because they have no right to do what they say is not right. I love you, and as I said before, I stand beside you forever." Another user named Bareheaded Woman replied to Jared's post and said, "Dude, that's exactly how they want you to think, so you can make a statistic of yourself. And another example supporting DHS's absurd, you might be a if shtick. It is heartbreaking, but it is not yet time to be thinking these thoughts. Abide a while. You are more useful as a voice than as a dead lion." Jared's reply is very ominous given the circumstances. He said, "I do not want to kill cops. I'm not advocating doing it. I'm not going to go out and find a cop and shoot them. But if they come to take me away, I would rather die than go to jail or a FEMA re-education camp when I have done nothing to hurt another human being." So a few months would pass, and on September 26th of 2012, Amanda Woodruff became Amanda Miller when these two got married. Amanda's father said that he didn't even want to be there, and the only reason he went was to walk his daughter down the aisle for the first time, but he puked his head off in the bathroom beforehand because he didn't want her to marry Jared. Regardless, these two would officially become married, and this was genuinely the full start of the end. Only a couple of days after getting married, on October 1st of 2012, Jared would make this post on Facebook. So does anyone else see it? How we have become the Germany of today? The big bully on the block pushing everyone around. What can and what should we do? How can we prove the voting system hasn't been tampered with? Everyone knows how Ron Paul was screwed out of going up against Obama. Ron Paul is the only hope for America, and we have all failed him, our children and our grandchildren, by failing to demand fair coverage of all presidential candidates. Today, and every day that passes by, our country falls deeper into the clutches of fascist hands. Hope you wake up before it's too late. Hell, it may already be too late. Now, what's interesting is, according to Jared's father, Todd, Jared was very strong-hearted on things, and that when he believed in something, he went all out for it. Todd also said that Jared supported Obama to become president, and then, during that year, he became disillusioned by what he would consider big government. The next year, in 2013, a lot of things would happen. First, the year would kick off with Jared deciding that he was going to start what he called the resistance. On January 30th, Jared posted on Facebook and said, "Today is day one of the resistance. Today I declare that I will not acknowledge unconstitutional laws or authority figures. I am invoking the right to resist law here in Indiana. Any attempt to take me away by unlawful warrant will be met with resistance. Enough talk, it's time for action. I was unlawfully imprisoned due to my actions that did not involve a victim. I am the victim of tyranny, and the federal government and the local authorities have violated my rights for the last time. I will not acknowledge unconstitutional laws that help a despotic government rule over its people. Right now, I take a stand for myself. When they come for me, I will be taking a stand for every American living under despotic rule. I will lead by example. I do not wish to hurt anyone, yet I will if they choose to take my freedom and my life from me. God have mercy on those who enforce these unconstitutional laws, for I will not." About a month or so later, on March 1st of 2013, Jared was arrested on a bench warrant for violating terms of his 2-year probation from his February 2011 sentencing. Due to this, he was sentenced to serve house arrest during the summer of 2013, I believe late though, between July and September. Jared would make a post on Facebook on May 13th of 2013 after a court hearing for this case. "Mark won up for freedom today. I stood before a fascist judge today and implied that he wasn't. I told him I did not recognize his authority over me and reminded him that 2 states now have legalized for recreational use. I also informed him that now, since the Fast and Furious scandal, that continuing the war on is treason. He said to me, I may not agree with the law, but it is my duty to enforce it. To which I replied, during the war criminal trials, stated that they were just following orders and enforcing the law, and we hung those people." So by June of 2013, Jared made another post on Facebook, this one of him talking about becoming a prisoner of his own home because he was being placed on house arrest. I'm not going to read that one because he also made a video about it, so I'll show you that instead.
This right here, you guys, is where cops threatened to shoot and kill me as I tried to place my hand on that railing right there as I made an attempt to try to walk backwards naked as I was instructed. My wife stood right there and watched them threaten to kill me. I slowly walked back as I was instructed, and they threatened to sick a dog on me. I came out here barefoot backwards. They put handcuffs on me. Then they proceeded to take me down the alley. I'm going to take a little walk for you here. Down the alley here. And here we have my street and my lovely neighbors that watched the cops haul me away naked. And they began to take me up the road here. As you can see, it's a bit of a ways. You got neighbors everywhere. Began to take me up to this corner here. Where, right around this corner right here, they had a car, cop car, faced the other direction, back up to me, so I could come to this point right here, by this blue thing, to where they put me in the car. Now, you might find it strange that they would park the cars facing the opposite direction. Now,
Is it because maybe they didn't want the cameras to see something they were doing? I'm pretty sure threatening to kill a naked, unarmed individual is something that would be frowned upon. And I'm also sure that threatening to sick dogs on an unarmed individual naked. Only thing I was wearing was my wedding ring, you guys. Wedding ring, that's it. Okay? As you can see, there's no trespassing. No trespassing. My wife stood here and watched this. Okay? Imagine how traumatizing that was for her. But, to make matters even worse, they entered the house. Alright, not a very big apartment, as you can tell. While an officer stood here. Well, first they asked Amanda to go get them some clothes, my wife. So she came down our hallway to get me some clothes down there. And as she did so, cops entered the house. Okay? One of them came and stood right here in this hallway, right where I'm standing now, with an assault rifle. While another one illegally detained my wife there in the living room, would not let her leave the house. Police officers then came up my stairs here, without a warrant, by the way. Came up the stairs here, into the bedroom, and under the bed, where the guns were. They took her revolver and her pistol. The revolver she bought the day before. The pistol, the semi-automatic Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm, was bought that very day. Now, the detectives are refusing to give her her guns back for some investigation. I don't know what they're investigating. They won't tell us. But apparently, it looks like Lafayette Police Department here in Lafayette, Indiana, are doing gun confiscations.
Very interesting. But Jared, a month later, on July 15th of 2013, would post a video to YouTube explaining how awful his landlord is. Basically stating that his landlord won in court, and now Jared and Amanda were gonna be evicted.
Alright, you guys. I just want to let you know how big of a piece of shit our landlord is. Our garbage disposal stopped working again. So it's making it a little hard to do dishes. The sink won't drain. We brought pictures to court hearing today for our eviction. Right? We showed the judge pictures of this. 2.5 years we've lived here. And the landlord did not fix that. We showed the judge pictures of this morning. And look what he comes and does. He comes and fixes it. Imagine that. Wow. Wow. So, what I'm going to do here in a little while is I'm going to take that off. Because that's bullshit. And I might just tear down this whole motherfucking porch. Just to prove my point. Because the kitty cat got outside. No, I'm not going to do that. But you get what I'm saying. That this is the kind of piece of landlord we've had to deal with. Alright, look at this. Don't even have a lock on the door. Okay? I can't do the dishes because the water won't drain. This is the kind of person that the judge ruled in favor of, saying we have to get out of the house in a week because I didn't want to pay rent to a landlord who wouldn't keep his end of the lease. So, what am I supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? Our families won't help us because they're a bunch of brainwashed pieces of shit.
Jared, a few days later, on July 21st, would post once again on Facebook, this time about how he's going to jail for 7 weeks and also about his back surgery, plus that he's broken and cannot be fixed. Now, I don't know what he's referencing with his back, but the reason that he went to jail for 7 weeks was because him and Amanda got evicted for non-payment of rent, and he was on house arrest until September 14th of 2013. Due to them not having a home, Jared petitioned to serve the remainder of his time in jail, and he did. What Amanda did or where she went during this time is undocumented, though I do know when Jared was released in September, they began to live at her parents' home, so perhaps she was there? Regardless, things were only going to get worse and worse as time went on. In December of 2013, this couple decided that they were going to move from Indiana to Nevada. Amanda made a Facebook post, which I'll read to you. Well, the time has come for me to announce that as of January 1st, my loving husband, Jared Miller, and I are moving to Nevada. I'm excited as well as sad. It's a new beginning, but I will be sad to leave my family behind. I can't wait to go though. Love everyone. Now, why this couple was ready to move was most likely for a fresh start, but the exact reasoning isn't stated. Amanda's family begged her not to go though. Regardless, in early January of 2014, this couple would move to Nevada. Jared was now 31 years old and Amanda was 22. In order to actually move there, they sold belongings for money. They recorded some videos while on their way there, and by the time they arrived in Nevada, they settled down in a small apartment in Las Vegas, paying about $675 a month. They had a next-door neighbor who they became very close with as time would pass, named Kelly Fielder, who I'll mention a bit later. But regardless, moving to Nevada did nothing for Amanda and Jared, except make them a bit more unhinged. Jared, on January 21st of 2014, posted this on Facebook, and it shows the mindset that he was in. I love my country and what it stood for. I do not like my government. Please, world, do not think of me badly because of my government's actions. I and most Americans do not agree with what they do. We are caught in a death spiral of lies and deception. I would leave this land if I could, go to Brazil or Argentina. I do not wish to be here when the financial collapse hits. I can't even describe the horrors that would follow such a disaster. Think Katrina was bad? This will be 1,000 times worse. They will do whatever it takes to restore order. This means executions in the streets, concentration camps, and starving children on the streets. Pray you die early. A few weeks later, on February 4th, Jared would actually call the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, or the BMV, and he pretty much threatened them.
I'm really sick and tired of all these laws and regulations. It's absolutely insane. As a person of the DMV, can you tell me how many laws are on the books concerning drivers? Indiana's whole court system's messed up. It's not my fault, and that he needs to drop the case. And if he doesn't, I'm going to be forwarding this bill to you guys. And if they come to arrest me for noncompliance or whatever, I'm just going to start shooting people.
The police went to his house this same day, and Jared admitted to making the call, but claimed he was just venting because he was angry. I guess that's why he made the call? So about a month later, in March, Jared would post a few times on Facebook, basically about performing as Thor and working on the Strip. Both him and Amanda would dress up as characters and go work on the Las Vegas Strip to earn money. They specifically really liked dressing up as Harley Quinn and the Joker. In one very creepy video that Jared made while he was dressed up as the Joker, he basically tells everyone that they should vote for him for president, and if they did, he'd blow up other countries. Now I'm going to give you a further idea of Amanda and Jared and how they were and stuff around this time. So I know they kind of look like it and acted like it, but these two were not addicted to drugs or anything, which some news articles and people suggested or assumed. They did drink a little bit, but that's about it. This was pure paranoia for the most part. But at their home, it was kinda disgusting, and they didn't clean very well. They had 2 cats, which they loved and cared for, kind of. It was also stated that they liked the paranormal and dark things and would play with a Ouija board pretty consistently. After playing with the Ouija board for a bit though, Amanda actually made some handwritten notes, and I'll read them. Started to notice a change in the air and atmosphere of the house. They had taken down the wall of what had once been the back bedroom, as this is where they had put on the addition to the house. During the day, the feeling was there, but it wasn't as bad as at nighttime. At night, it seemed to be blacker than blacker. I could feel someone or something watching me. I had seen the shadow of something moving around in it. I could hear it walking on the plywood floors. I tried to shrug it off as it just being my mind playing tricks on me because it was something new, but I would learn later that it wasn't. The next note starts abruptly and says, "Me to have my experiences, and honestly, I am thankful today for it, for I feel that I am blessed to be able to experience all of this. My first experience I had, I do not remember, but have been told by my parents many of times over the years. I do not believe my parents would have made this stay up, as for it is very sad, and the stay has not affected one bit. Also, with experiences that have happened later down the road, I can't help but believe them. I just want to take a moment to thank my parents for being so supportive of me and not telling me I was crazy. They entrusted me and believed me. I know I am very blessed to have a family so open about it. Thank you, Mom, Dad, and Colin." Very interesting. But by April, some more things would take place. Long story short, a large standoff happened in 2014 called the Bundy standoff, where supporters of a cattle rancher named Cliven Bundy were going against law enforcement. This was because of a 21-year dispute between Cliven Bundy and the BLM, or the United States Bureau of Land Management. The BLM ordered Mr. Bundy to pay $1 million in grazing fees because of his land being used. So I guess that Jared wanted to help out in some way, and on April 9th of 2014, he posted this on Facebook. "I will be supporting Clive Bundy and his family from federal government slaughter. This is the next Waco. His ranch is under siege right now. The federal gov is stealing his cattle, arresting his family, and beating on them. We must do something. I will be doing something." Only a couple of days later, Jared and Amanda would travel to Bunkerville, Nevada to support this cause. Now, mind you, mostly all of the supporters of Cliven Bundy were armed, and so were law enforcement. They were going against each other. Jared was also armed, and he wasn't allowed to be because he's a felon. Hence the reason this picture shows Amanda in front of Jared, hiding his gun, though you can see she has a gun of her own. But I'm not even sure if Amanda was allowed to have guns given Jared's history and the fact that they were taken away before, plus what they mentioned in the post on InfoWars. Also, Amanda was working at Hobby Lobby at the time. She transferred from the Indiana store to one in Las Vegas. But because she went to this event, she was fired. Regardless, while there, Jared and Amanda made sure that they were known. They interviewed multiple Bundy family members, and Jared was interviewed himself by NBC News.
Hopefully, people will see that there's people out there willing to, come out and support them, put their lives on the line, or just their, physical bodies, out there and put them in front of the tasers, be beaten, and help stand up for people. Because, if the stuff was happening to me, I'd want people to be there for me, so I can't expect that out of people if I'm not going to be willing to come out and support somebody else in their time of need.
Well, tell us though, it's got to be a good feeling that this weekend, if you want to call it a victory, certainly the BLM blinked.
We can't feel good about something like that because we shouldn't have to be out here in the first place. Sure, it gives us a lot more hope. It's going to show a lot of people that the federal government isn't almighty God. They can't just go around pushing people around doing whatever they want anymore. We have the internet, we have alternative media, we pick up on things faster, we can get around, we can support each other. And that's the real important thing, is we need to be backing each other up when we stand for our rights and for our liberties, because we're losing them at an alarming rate.
But it was getting pretty tense, and it seemed that there was definitely a fear that it was going to become violent.
You know, the people here that have come here to support Bundy, we're not afraid. You know, we know that, you know, in the past the government has used force against civilians like Waco, Ruby Ridge. All right,
Well,
we're not afraid of
But
that.
this was the fear that it was going to become another situation like
Yeah,
that.
but
And so the government backed down.
yeah, but this is an entirely different situation from Ruby Ridge and Waco. They didn't have the internet back then. There's a lot of these guys, you know, that are self-set and they're really dedicated to freedom. That's all they do is they train, they go out, you know, and they protect our borders, things like that. Minutemen are coming, and we're just going to be. They're out here. They're out here right now. You don't see them. You know, that's what they do. So, you know, I feel sorry for any federal agents that want to come in here and try to push us around or anything like that. I really don't want violence toward them, but if they're gonna come bring violence to us, well, if that's the language they want to speak, we'll learn it.
Well, that sounds kind of like a menacing statement, I have to tell you. This issue, you're saying you guys aren't going away.
No, we're not going away, but we're not going to fire the first shots either. We will defend ourselves if it has to come to that. But we're hoping that, you know, our show of force yesterday is enough to get them to go, hey, this is a sensitive subject, this is a sensitive area, perhaps we should leave it alone. Because any further involvement with the federal government is just going to be seen as instigating. All right, if they come back here, because the only reason we showed up here is because they were here doing what they're doing. It's not like we came here to get their attention and they came. No, they came here, got our attention, and we came. So it's what they're doing is what's bringing us here. So we're not instigating anything at all. We are here in response to their criminal activity, as we see it. Sure, they have the law on their side, but is it constitutional law? That's the issue. Now, another big issue is our definition of constitutionality differs from theirs. You know, we are a little more strict on following the Constitution in their opinion. But I'm pretty sure if our founders were alive today, they'd be rolling over in their graves or picking up a gun and doing what we're doing.
Not long after this, Jared and Amanda would actually be kicked out of this standoff because of Jared's felony history and the fact that he was carrying a gun. I'm not sure how that was figured out, but I believe he was talking to people about it. Jared was apparently crying badly because of being kicked out, and not long after, on April 19th of 2014, after returning back to their home, he made a Facebook post about being kicked out. I was out there, but they told me and my wife to leave because I am a felon. They don't seem to understand that they are all felons now for intimidating law enforcement with deadly weapons. So don't tell you that they need people. We sold everything we had to buy supplies and quit our jobs to be there 24/7. How dare you ask for help and shun us dedicated patriots? Once again, Jared and Amanda would continue to spiral out of control. They really started to hate cops and everything they stood for. You can see Amanda's likes on YouTube here. She liked 3 separate videos all on the topic of shooting cops. Jared, up until July of 2014, would make several posts on Facebook, and they really show what his mindset was leading up to the quote-unquote revolution. Jared, on May 2nd, posted this to Facebook. There is no greater cause to die for than liberty. To die for that cause is easy. To live for it is another matter. I will willingly die for liberty. Death, in a sense, is freedom from tyranny. Death is the easy way out. Most notably is the by cop routine. Yes, standing before despots is dangerous and most likely does not end well for you. I know this. My wife knows this. Soon they will come for us because they don't like what we think and what we say. They don't like the fact that we simply will not submit to fascist rule. We don't have much, but we are willing to sacrifice everything for you, for your freedoms. Even if you wouldn't let us have ours, we know who we are and what we stand for. Do you? The paranoia in this post is real. Jared saying the police will soon come for him and Amanda because they don't like what they think. You can only imagine what Jared was saying to Amanda daily, but it definitely wasn't good. A few weeks later, though, on June 2nd, Jared would post again to Facebook, and he Even comparing it to the last post he made, his mindset just went further down. Also, before I read this, around this time, Amanda and their 2 cats, Oreo and Leo, were staying next door at their neighbor Kelly Fielder's home. This was also Amanda's good friend over the past several months. But they were staying there because their house was in poor condition, primarily because of them. But Jared said in his post, "We can hope for peace. We must, however, prepare for war. We face an enemy that is not only well-funded, but who believe they fight for freedom and justice. Those of us who know the truth and dare speak it know that the enemy we face are indeed our brothers, even though they share the same masters as we all do. They fail to recognize the chains that bind them. To stop this oppression, I fear, can only be accomplished with bloodshed. May the best men of our beloved nation stand and fight tyranny, without fear and without regret. May we stand proud as free men instead of kneeling as slaves. May we offer our children a free and just world with our blood, sweat, and tears as payment. Let our wives and lovers take vengeance upon our enemies in our absence. We cannot fail in this endeavor of liberty. If we do, we risk leaving our orphaned children to the will of tyrants. We cannot, with good conscience, leave this fight to our children, because the longer we wait, our enemies become better equipped and recruit more mercenaries of death, willing to do a tyrant's bidding without question. I know you are fearful, as am I. We certainly stand before a great and powerful enemy. I, however, would rather die fighting for freedom than live on my knees as a slave. Let it be known to our children's children that free men stood fast before a tyrant's wrath, and were found victorious because we stood together, that we all cast aside our petty differences and united under the banner of liberty and truth. May future generations look back upon this time in history with awe and gratitude for our courage to face tyranny so that they could live happy and free." 5 days later, Jared made one final Facebook post at 11:59 p.m., and it said, "The dawn of a new day. May all of our coming sacrifices be worth it." It's very clear that Jared and Amanda had made their minds up, and the next day, what they would do was absolutely sickening. On June 8th of 2014, both Jared and Amanda would wake up very early at around 4 to 4:30 a.m., and once again they were at their neighbor Kelly's home. They put diapers on, camouflage, vests, and Jared had a t-shirt that said "hater" on it. I'm not too sure what the diapers were for, but the night before they packed a shopping cart filled with guns, 200 live rounds, 4 magazines, MREs, water, a Gadsden flag, a revolution note, and the guns were a Ruger 38 revolver and a Winchester 12 gauge, which Jared carried, and a Smith & Wesson 9mm, which Amanda carried. They then put their 2 cats, Oreo and Leo, into cat carriers to leave them to Kelly. So at about 5:45 a.m., Jared and Amanda brought the shopping cart into Kelly's living room, and at this point, both Kelly and her husband were in the room. Jared slung his shotgun over his shoulder, and Kelly then asked, "What's going on? What are you doing with all of this?" She was referencing the shopping cart that was filled with ammunition. Jared replied to her, "The revolution has begun. I gotta do what I gotta do, Kelly. We're going underground." He then paused and teared up a bit and said, "You're a good friend. I'm sorry it has to be this way. You'll see it on the news tonight." Jared then hugged Kelly and kissed her forehead. Amanda then said to Kelly, "If I die, I'll come back and see you again, Kelly. I promise." Next, Amanda hugged Kelly very tightly while crying and said, "Take care of Oreo and Leo for us, okay? They're all we've got left here." Kelly said to both of them, "Jared, Amanda, what's this about? You're scaring me. Are you in trouble?" Jared replied back, "No trouble, just justice. The cops, the government, they've pushed too far. This is it, the stand. We're not coming back." Amanda then chimed in and said, "Yeah, it's time. We've been planning this. You'll understand when you see it." Next, Kelly said, "You don't have to do this. Whatever it is, just stop." Jared then told her as he was turning around, "Too late for that. It's done. Take care of yourself, Kelly." After this, both Jared and Amanda would leave Kelly's home, and Kelly could have called the police, but she said she didn't because she froze. After leaving at about 5:48 a.m., what exactly this couple did for the next several hours isn't known. They left Kelly's on foot pushing a shopping cart filled with ammunition, and I don't believe they had a specific location they were going to or looking for. I also don't know how they managed to push a shopping cart like that without anyone calling the police themselves or anything. But what or who they were looking for was police. Their plan, to make it short, was to try and kill as many police as possible. So at about 11:10 a.m., Jared and Amanda had noticed that there was cops parked outside of CC's Pizza only a mile away from their apartment. Jared then walked inside the CC's at around 11:15 a.m. by himself. He looked around and noticed that there were two cops eating food and sitting down, not paying full attention. Next, Jared waved Amanda to come in as well, and this was at 11:20 a.m. I also read that he went back outside to get her. After gathering themselves though and seeing the cops, at 11:22 a.m., this couple ambushed the officers, murdering them. Their names were Alan Beck and Igor Saldo. But after killing these two men, they took the officers' weapons and then placed a Gaston flag onto Officer Beck and pinned a note on Officer Saldo that said, "This is the beginning of a revolution." Jared and Amanda would then start shouting at the customers, "This is a revolution. Tell the cops this is just the beginning." Everyone inside obviously freaked out, and then Jared and Amanda would stay for a moment and leave right after. Next, at 11:23 a.m., they would leave the CC's Pizza and head to the Walmart that was right across the street. At about 11:25 a.m., this couple would arrive to the Walmart and walk inside. Jared immediately fired a 9mm shot into the ceiling and yelled, "This is the beginning of the revolution. Get out." Meanwhile, Amanda followed him, but at a bit of a distance. This is when a good Samaritan named Joseph Wilcox, who was at the store with a friend to return something, noticed what was happening and immediately sprung into action. Joseph had his concealed carry license, and as soon as he realized the people he was with and those at Walmart were in danger, he didn't hesitate. Amanda was following Jared, but once again at a bit of a distance, and so when Joseph ran to stop the threat, he passed Amanda because he didn't realize she was a part of it. So she noticed him about to shoot Jared, and Amanda then shot Joseph, killing him, but protecting Jared. Around this point, these two were at the Walmart for about 30 seconds or so, and everything was very hectic. Amanda and Jared continued towards the back of the store or to the sporting goods and automotive section. First, they stopped in the camping or hunting section, and this is when Jared broke into the ammo case with a knife. The police by then had actually arrived and eventually set up perimeters. They took use of the surveillance room to help the 5-officer team who were going to take down Jared and Amanda. Shortly after the police arrived, Amanda and them got into a firefight, and this was while Jared was getting more ammo from the case. Amanda, during that firefight, got shot in the shoulder, and eventually Jared got back to her and barricaded her and him in an aisle. Amanda was bleeding out and asked for some water, which Jared got for her, and eventually Jared got into a firefight with the police also. He got shot in the upper chest and fell right away. This is when Amanda tried to take him out or shoot him, but I think her grip on the gun was bad. Jared would end up dying from his gunshot wound from the police. Meanwhile, Amanda, in one final swing, took herself out. Before that, she had actually asked Jared to take her out, but I think he was gone at that point. Regardless, this was the end of the reign of terror of Jared and Amanda Miller. This whole entire incident lasted about 30 minutes total and took the lives of 3 innocent men. Jared and Amanda, for the previous 2 years, basically since they met, went spiraling down until they were absolutely out of control. Now both of their autopsies showed that they were sober, besides just a little bit of alcohol. These two were aware of what they were doing, but according to Amanda's friends and family, she changed when Jared came into the picture, and I really do believe he sort of manipulated her in a way. Though obviously what she did was pure evil, as she contributed even a bit more than Jared, considering she killed Joseph to protect him. Regardless, these two were full on with conspiracies, and Jared really had a belief that the government and police were one day going to get him and attempting to ruin his life. Within just a short period of time of knowing each other, Jared pulled Amanda into his lunacy, and thus began the modern-day story of Bonnie and Clyde. They had further plans to take over a courthouse and execute as many cops and public officials as possible. This couple was absolutely mad, and what they did was just terrible. Amanda's father, Todd, knew that Jared was evil, and he said that he changed Amanda in awful ways. Todd actually talked to Amanda 2 days prior on June 6th, and he said that she seemed happy and fine, that she asked about their cats and dogs and her dad's recent neck surgery, and she asked about their neighbors, and they talked for a good time. They had even started to plan for Todd to go out and see Amanda, but that wouldn't happen. After Jared and Amanda did what they did, Todd would actually fly out to see the location of where Amanda died, and he talks a bit about her, so I'll play some of that.
I want to get some closure with everything that's happened, with my daughter there, and it just, something's been drawing me out there since I've been wanting to go out there ever since that happened. It was a horrific incident, and I've been wanting to go out there ever since it happened, and this is one more reason to go out there. I've seen and I've heard some of the most horrific things you can see as a parent and heard as a parent, and at this point I don't think anything could shock me. I've heard called more names than you could ever imagine, and I've learned to block it out. Nothing can bother me at this point, I don't think. I'm just going to go in and go back into that corner where they were, and then walk back around the corner over by CC's and those flowers over there, and then go in and
How did today go compared to what you thought it might be?
about like I thought it would. I was hoping it was going to go well, and everything went well.
What are you going to take from it?
Peace and cats.
It does make you feel bad for Todd, but I just don't agree with what Jared and Amanda did. Also, if you're wondering about Jared and Amanda's cats, well, at first they were left with Kelly, the next door neighbor. But after a few weeks, she took them to a shelter, and so when Todd, Amanda's father, came down to see the location, he adopted both of the cats and took them back home. But 3 innocent people were taken in this tragedy, and they deserve to be remembered. Igor Saldo was a Las Vegas Metropolitan Police officer since the year 2006 after graduating from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Those that knew him described him as being a dedicated, intelligent, and compassionate man. He was born in Bosnia and as a young teenager moved with his family to Nebraska to escape what was a war-torn region. He loved reading and had a near photographic memory. Igor had a wife named Andrea and they had a son together. He was a proud father and husband and a loyal man. Alan Beck was also a Las Vegas Metropolitan Police officer, but since the year 2001, aka he was on the squad for 13 years. He was a senior officer and had the traits of a leader. He was kind and always kept it professional. Alan's colleagues and friends described him as being the gold standard for what a cop should be. He was dedicated and very committed to serving his community. It was said that Alan had a strong moral compass dealing with suspects or helping citizens. Alan was a firearms instructor and enthusiast and a funny guy with an easy, laid-back personality. Alan was also a husband to his wife Nicole, and they had 3 children together. He was a devoted father and loved to go to his kids' sports games and vacations together. Alan was described as being the rock of his family, and he was always there and supporting them. Joseph Robert Wilcox was 31 years old and a Las Vegas native. He was described by his family as being easygoing, fun-loving, and protective. Joseph loved four-wheeling, video games, computers, and movies. His mother, Deborah, said that he was always looking out for others and believed in protecting those around him. A few years prior to 2014, Joseph applied to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department but wasn't accepted. His mother, Deborah, was afraid about him being a cop, so he didn't pursue it further. By 2014, though, Joseph would get his concealed carry permit, and he started to take a gun with him wherever he went for a bit, but then his mother said the novelty wore off, so he wasn't doing it as frequently. Joseph, on June 8th of 2014, was at Walmart with his longtime friend Jeremy Tanner to return a modem at the customer service desk. They chose this Walmart because it was the closest location. This day, Joseph just so happened to be carrying his gun, and as soon as he heard Jared and Amanda come in and start yelling and Jared shooting a shot, Joseph sprung into action, but once again, unfortunately, was killed in the process. Joseph was a heroic man who deserves to be remembered for his courageousness to stop a threat. Rest in peace to all 3 of these men. I hope that their families are doing okay.